Play.
Get ready. Storm mainland over Texas, blowing from the Voodoo Sea. Clouds turned gray and all the birds flew away. All the old folks were heard the sign say it's a big one, nothing like we've ever seen before. Lord, please love us and save us. We don't want the devil knocking at our door.
Today's show is sponsored by Farmer Joe's Fresh Market, located at 1401 Southwest Pine Island Road in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. Everything you need in more Lee County's greatest grocery store, Farmer Joe's Fresh Market. If you're looking for custom marble, look no further than International Marble. You can call International Marble at 239-878-2200. That's 239-878-2200. The multi-talented Mr. Ford O'Connell is with us. Ford is an author, businessman, veteran political analyst, professor, attorney, and a good person to listen to on this show. You can find Ford at FordO'Connell.com. You can find him on Ford O'Connell on X and often on Fox News, Newsmax, and most reputable news sources. Welcome to the Crack Culture Podcast. I am Smokin Joe. Now, Ford, I want to get right into this. Many supporters of MAGA have expressed concerns of the transparency of the Jeffrey Epstein documents. I understand why their concerns are heightened. We have been waiting, believing that a new administration would reveal it post-haste. But Trump says, are we really going to give this creep any more credibility? Let's move on. Ford, what do you say?
There's a lot to unpack here. I think what happened here is prior to the 2024 election, conservative talking heads were hyping the Epstein files. I think that a lot of people really had unrealistic expectations about what was going to be released. And I'll say this, I wouldn't say the administration handled it initially the best way possible, but you got to realize so much of this stuff is sealed up legally that you were never going to get a tell-all, if you will, because remember, there's really two Epstein cases. You got Epstein 1, which he got immunity for up until, the late 2000s. And then you got basically 2009 to 2019. And remember why a lot of this stuff is sealed. It's not sealed to protect the rich and powerful. It's sealed to protect the victims. So I don't know what a lot of people were thinking. Look, I understand their frustration. But as I told you, Joe, we still don't know who the heck killed JFK. So, what were they actually expecting?
Well, and for people that are not really following politics the way that you do, or even the way that I do, when you see people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel seem to be at heads with Pam Bondi, people are really concerned about what we thought we were getting.
Yeah, that's why I told you I'm not sure the administration handled it all that well in sort of the run-up to when they released some of the information. I think the problem here is this administration has been the best messaging administration I've ever seen because they're always on offense. They're never on defense. And what was the only issue that they were kind of on defense on for a little bit was the Epstein files. And I look, I understand this intramural scrum. I do think people are eventually going to fall in line here, but this whole notion that, that what Trump calls the hoax is simply this. The hoax is that somehow he's involved in the misconduct and that's why the files are being suppressed. Look, let me tell you something. If he was involved in the misconduct, the Democrats would have already used it, in the 2024 election, because what did they try to do? Bankrupt him, put him in jail, throw him off the ballot. They did everything but throw the kitchen sink at him, and I think they tried that anyway. So this whole notion that the Democrats are out there going, oh, gee, Trump's hiding something. Trust me, Trump has all the same material that Biden and Obama had. If there was anything implicating Trump, I promise you they would have used it. So, that whole argument, that just dog won't hunt. And the Democrats don't care about transparency because if they did, they would have released it when Biden was in office. But they didn't. And we are where we are. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the law. I mean, you see Professor Dershowitz out there all the time saying, hey, I was one of Epstein's lawyers. Yeah, you know some of the names, but there's so many names you don't know, and it's sealed.
Right. And no, I totally agree with you on that. And I think that there's, and supposedly Trump did tell Pam Bondi to release the files today, and we'll see what happens there. But I think that Trump is playing, and you hear people say he's playing 4D chess and all this. I really do think that Trump has a plan, because Trump was all about releasing it. And he's, and then when everybody gets an uproar, he's release it then. It's like, it's almost like a tease, pullback tease. And I think Trump's doing that on purpose.
Yeah, and I do think that you're going to see more information, but it's just going to be a slow churn over time with respect to this. But this whole notion, right now, Trump is on the greatest winning streak we've seen in at least my lifetime, okay, even over Reagan. And what's shocking here is we can't let this thing get in the way of the, 2026 midterms, because if the Republicans lose the House, the Trump presidency is essentially over, because you won't be able to get anything done, and we're going to be playing the impeachment game again.
I think that me personally, growing up, a lot of things were kept from us, like you mentioned me off the air about JFK and things like that. The Roswell, all these things, and they were said that they were done because to protect the general public, because we couldn't handle the truth. Well, I think in today's age, the truth is probably easier to handle than it ever was. We see so much with that, the creation of the digital media and AI and all the things that we're exposed to today that we wasn't exposed to in the 50s and 60s. I think now it's time that we should just put everything out there and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I just don't know that you can. That's the problem. Is me being a lawyer, I understand why a lot of this stuff can't be released, because it's not up to the attorney general to release the information. It's up to the judges involved in the case to do it. And I'm old enough, without, showing my age here. Look, Jeffrey Epstein should burn in hell. Let's be very clear about that. Okay. But at the same time, I'm old enough to remember when Geraldo decided he was going to have this build up to open up Al Capone's safe. And then he opens it up, and lo and behold, there really wasn't anything there. And that's kind of how I see it. We know we got a guy who's a pedophile who basically is running a sex trafficking ring. But beyond that, I mean, with Harvey Weinstein and P. Diddy, is that like somehow that's become normalized?
Yeah, that's the most incredible thing in today's society, where you would think, back in our parents' day, there was a lot of people that married young. That was a common practice. But, as we evolved as people, we know that people need more time to mature to understand the concept of sexual relations and things like that. They're robbing these children of that, and nobody's really doing much about it. Nobody's really showing the concern, I feel, because, me personally, I know what I think I would do if somebody done something to my child.
Oh, look, all of that is justified. I think, look, if I had to point a finger, just, roughly at this situation and why we are where we are, remember the U.S. attorney for South Florida? I think his last name was Acosta. Back in the early 2000s, he's the one who gave him immunity.
Yep.
And, that means that everything that occurred up to that point, sealed. So, and then you're talking about the last 10 years. Oh, when he died in 2019. So we're talking about like 2009 and 2019. Yeah, all those people were robbed. But again, those victims were so young that, look, the only way you're going to get half of what you actually want is if the judges decide to do it, because the Attorney General of the United States actually can't.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens today when see what Pam Bondi does release. But everybody's waiting. I tell you, this is it's the media that people will thrive for, and it takes their eyes off of other bigger problems. People tuned into P. Diddy, and what was that? That was like OJ 2.0. People tuned into that. They were, and you couldn't even see the case. People were watching people standing outside the courthouse for hours just to see who walked in and out, and they were glued to their social media. But nothing's going to happen, man. And, you know,
Well, I think the P. Diddy situation is a little bit different just because he was so overcharged. And yes, he is definitely to blame, but he had some good lawyers. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Because he's only going to get a couple of years at best. And he should get a lot more, but at least he's going to get something. Okay. And
Ford, you worked in a prosecutor's office, and you know they usually throw a million things at somebody just hoping that one thing sticks in most any case.
Yeah, that's true, but they tried to throw a racketeering. That was like the big one. And racketeering is really, really hard to prove. And the whole notion that one person can conspire with himself already blows the whole racketeering charge out of the water. It's not like, Maxwell and Epstein, where they both know that they're doing wrong and they're conspiring in sex trafficking or bringing people across state lines or international lines for that matter. That's a little bit different story. Or maybe Harvey Weinstein's secretary was setting people up to the hotel room. I don't know. I'm just speculating out there. It's just really hard to charge someone with racketeering when there's only one person that's being named.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, let's talk about this recession package the Senate passed is $9 billion. And I'm going to play a little clip for you, and I want you to explain what is affected and what does this mean for other Doge items. Let's watch this little clip here, Ford.
The bill is amended as passed.
Overnight, senators voted 51-48 to slash around $9 billion worth of previously approved funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. Republicans Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins joined with Democrats to oppose the measure, sounding the alarm over the impact to local public radio and TV stations.
For many families, public television is one of their only early childhood education tools. We shouldn't be pulling the rug out of these children.
The overwhelming majority of CPB's funding flows to NPR and PBS, entities that have drifted far from their original mission and now serve as megaphones for partisan left-wing activism.
The measure now has to go back to the House for a final vote before the Friday deadline.
So what does this mean for the other Doge project?
Well, let's understand what happened here is they basically cut $9 billion in discretionary spending. That was $8 billion from foreign aid, which was USAID, and then $1 billion between NPR and PBS. See, rescission is a very special tool. Like we were talking about budget reconciliation before, which dealt with mandatory spending. This deals with discretionary spending. And here's the problem. If you want to cut it, you have to do it in 45 days, or else the cuts go back and cannot be touched for another calendar year. So this was a very big move, but at the same time, we're $37 trillion in debt, and we're talking about 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% of the federal budget, and yet people in Washington are losing their minds. And I don't know what the hell Collins and Murkowski are talking about. Well, early childhood learning at NPR and PBS. There's 7,000 channels. It's not like when you and I grew up, there was 5 friggin' channels, and we're like, we had to go play outside because there wasn't enough TV and screens. I mean, there's so much crap in Collins is from Maine. For God's sake, she's got Canadian broadcasting. And I mean, over in Alaska, Murkowski, she's 10 miles from Russia. Lord knows what the hell she has.
Right. Well, I mean, like you said, we grew up in some of the PBS broadcasting when we were children, was educational, but they've bastardized all those programs. It's far from what it was when we.
I mean, look at Sesame Street.
Yeah,
I don't even know what the hell is going on with that. Certainly in that, I don't know what Big Bird's doing in Elmo, but my God, Sesame Street is out of control. But here's the thing about PBS. Okay, I watch that Masterpiece Theater. I'll tell people I'm a dork. Okay, I'll watch that stuff. But I'll also tell you that if PBS would get its balance sheet in order, they'd actually be one of the bigger movie studios in the country, because they make some great products. The problem is they just fund dump that's basically left-leaning crap. In NPR, there isn't, they took a poll about the journalists at NPR. I mean, if you want to call them journalists. And they basically said, how many are Republicans? 0.
All right.
And then when you play their own news to them, they go, well, we don't see how that's left-leaning. And I'm like, Trump's a felon? The Russia hoax is still real? I mean, come on. I mean, it's just so partisan hackery. And there's so many channels. Federal government doesn't need to be in the business of actually doing that stuff unless it's us using Voice of America to change hearts and minds in Asia. Beyond that, we shouldn't be in this business.
Well, and that's what I say. I was thinking like back when we were children, they used to have like political cartoons on PBS. There's systems like "I'm Just a Bill" on Capitol Hill. It was actually educational. Now you've got, like you said, you've got. I think they've made Bert and Ernie life partners and things like that. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I still don't know what happened with Beaker and the other guy, but yeah, I know what you mean. Life partners, Bert and Ernie. I mean, they're not even real, for God's sakes. That's kind of where we are. I mean, think about that for a minute. I mean, that's the whole point. The reason why they market this crap to children is because the quickest way to basically bring about socialism is to brainwash those that are the youngest. The children become the weapon. They're essentially the brainwashed terrorists to destroy capitalism. And they're not terrorists, but they're brainwashed such that they think that they're right, and they have no idea how much they've been brainwashed.
Well, and I agree with you. And just because we're talking about children, our children.
I just want to be clear that I'm not calling children terrorists. I'm just saying how they act in terms of tearing down, capitalism or free markets or, frankly, the United States of America.
Well, and again, my whole thing is we should let children be children. We should not be trying to pollute them with biases and things like that, especially things that their parents might not agree with. But what I was about to say is this is totally off subject, but when you brought up children and letting children be children, things like that, I watched J.D. Vance take his family to Disneyland, and I'm going to tell you, it sickened me that people would not let that family enjoy a vacation. He's out of the office and people were screaming stuff at him, political stuff in front of his children and wife. That was just disrespectful. And that just shows you how the left could care less about the harmony of children.
Well, they don't. That's the whole point. This is what's happened on the left in particular. I'm not saying the right is a bunch of angels either. But what I will say about the left is they believe the ends justify the means. They basically hate Republicans more than they hate the Chinese Communist Party. That's pretty much where we're at. And they don't understand how destructive that is. And they don't realize how they're doing China and Russia's bidding by basically hating their own countrymen and women just because we're members of a different political party. It's insanity. I mean, you see it all the time. Like, there's polls that basically talk about how Republicans are willing to date Democrats, but Democrats aren't willing to date Republicans. No. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. I'm going to tell you something. Unfortunately, we're at such heightened times that politics has replaced religion in our country.
You're right.
I hate to say that. It sounds blasphemous to say that, but it's true.
But you say it's politics, and it's really not even politics. They're not looking at the political aspect. It's more a cult-like sense of we got to be against this group, and we got to be pro-gay, we got to be pro-Palestine. Every thing that is anti-American fundamental, they got to be. And how's the political? It's just it's insanity.
Well, and that's the whole point. It's just like we're going to get into illegal immigration. I mean, it's just one of those things. There's no border. There's no country. I mean, they believe, honestly, to fix America, they have to destroy America. And that is absolutely insane because they don't understand in our 250 years of existence, we're the best going damn thing on this planet. And somehow they think that they can make it better. And we know what is socialism, like 0 and 1,000? And somehow they think it's going to continue to, well, if it's just done this way, then it'll be okay. And it's unbelievable. But you know what? And the worst part is today, I've told you this many, many times. Today, the more formally educated you are, like having degrees like me, the dumber you are.
Right.
And the less educated you are, formally educated is what I mean, the smarter you are. I mean, we saw this in the New York mayoral election. We'll get to that, but I'm just making a point about where this goes.
Right. Well, you know, we are going to get into that. Let's talk about Jerome Powell, the Fed chair. Is his head on the chopping block? Trump did state that he posed a question to others if he should let Mr. Powell go. And even though he said he was overwhelmingly supported with dismissing Powell, he's not going to do it. I want to know, can he remove Powell without cause?
That's where we're in a gray area. According to the Federal Reserve Act, you have to be removed for cause. What does that mean? It means two things. One, he's had grave negligent misconduct in his job, like not being able to carry it out, or he's a vegetable like Joe Biden. Okay, that's basically the two ways that you can remove the guy, and that's why we're in a little bit of a gray area. But the other reason why he talks about not removing him is because he doesn't want to spook the markets. See, if you remove somebody like that, you're going to spook the markets. And I know who he basically wants to put in there. Now, whether or not the guy wants to do it is our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who's doing a hell of a job. I mean, he's got to be the most pleasant surprise of everybody in the administration in terms of just going above and beyond and, carrying things out. And here's why Trump is pissed. And I think this doesn't get, explained very well, even in conservative media. What Trump is saying is, wait a minute, how come America has the 40th lowest interest rates, and yet Japan, who has the largest piece of our debt, has the third lowest interest rates, and China, who has the second largest piece of our debt, has lower interest rates than we do, when our economy is doing twice as well as both of those countries. So what it means is he's saying, Powell, if you don't cut rates, we've got to pay more on our debt. You're basically robbing from the American taxpayer. And then you're also saying, hey, Powell, if you don't cut the rates, the hardworking men and women on Main Street, blue-collar America, can't buy a house or can't buy a new car. And that's the whole point. He's actually hurting the middle class and the poor by not cutting rates. It's not like he's helping the rich. Now, granted, the rich want the rates cut too, but for two totally different reasons.
No, I agree. And like I said, I don't know what's going to come of that. And a lot of people saying that certain things that he might be able to push as cause. I guess we just have to wait and see how that falls out.
There's something else here. See, Jerome Powell cut the rates politically to help Biden and Harris when the economy was, dare I say, poop. Okay. And now that the economy isn't poop, he should be cutting rates. But there's another angle here that a lot of people don't talk about. So when you have an economic moment in federal politics, okay, like a good moment, it usually takes about 8-9 months before it's felt completely on the ground, basically on Main Street. Okay, what we'll call, in this case, 41. Okay, that's when it takes 8 to 9 months from when Trump says, aha, this number's good. For the average person, it takes 8-9 months. So the problem is Jerome Powell terms out in May of 2026, which is what? 4 or 5 months before the election. Right. The problem is he wants them to cut rates now, because if he cuts rates now, you'll be feeling it in the midterms in your pocketbook, and everyone's going to go Trump, 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 Republicans, Republicans, Republicans. So there's an economic and a political angle here, and Trump's absolutely right, but you don't want to spook the markets, because if you spook the markets, then you're going to be writing your own death warrant for the midterms.
I agree. Well, let's talk about the Socialist Democrat Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani. Now, he is leading the New York for mayor, and he is visiting D.C. seeking endorsements from the like-minded idiots who support the destruction of the republic. Let us play a video of him going to D.C.
Everyone was having a hair on fire moment, and I said, let's just calm it all down.
Governor Kathy Hochul reassuring New Yorkers the city will not succumb to socialism if Zohran Mamdani becomes mayor.
Become the therapist in chief, it seems. So saying, everybody, we're going to be okay.
Mamdani was networking on Capitol Hill today.
The meeting went well.
As New York's most powerful Democrats decide whether to back him.
We'll be meeting in New York City.
The Democratic nominee walking a line between the socialists on his calendar today, like Bernie Sanders and AOC, and the CEOs he met yesterday.
I will say the same things in that room that I've said outside about my fiscal policies.
Governor Hochul taking some credit after Mamdani also assured those business leaders in that meeting that he would not use the phrase globalize the intifada, a phrase many Jews view as a call to violence.
He understood that, and I'll give him credit for acknowledging that. And seems like yesterday he was working to explain what his real feelings are.
He did win in the primary, but the general election, many more people vote.
Now, look, is there not anybody in New York that wants to run for office that is not a piece of shit? I'm sorry.
Oh, you said it. And let me just say, remember Mr. Smith goes to Washington? This is like Mandomi the Commie goes to D.C. Now let's talk about something else. I love how the Democrats change the meaning of words, okay? Let's be honest. He's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? And there is a big friggin' difference, and the media just kind of glosses over it. First of all, they're both terrible. But communism means that the government seizes and controls the means of production. When He's talking about the government should own the grocery stores. That is communism. Socialism, which is what AOC is, means that the government should regulate everything, the means of production, distribution, and exchange, which is why they want to take away your gun and regulate your stove all the way to your friggin' shower head. That's a socialist. A socialist is a Karen who's up your ass, okay? A communist wants to take all your crap from you. I mean, the socialists eventually will too, but that's the whole difference. And the problem here is, if you look at that primary and you look at who voted for Mandomi, it brings me back to what I said earlier. Those who made under 50,000 overwhelmingly voted for Andrew Cuomo. African Americans overwhelmingly voted for Andrew Cuomo. A majority of Hispanics, I believe, overwhelmingly voted for Andrew Cuomo. So who voted for Mandomi? Besides those who hate Jews. And the answer is anyone with a goddamn college degree who made over $100,000 because they just think he's some sort of luxury item, and therefore it's okay, we should push these ideas because they don't actually have to go to work every morning. They don't have to worry about at the end of the month, am I going to be able to put food on the table for my family or not? Because they live on Central Park South and they don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me that people even give him a pulpit to talk on with his ideals. And I was going to bring that up about him talking about the government-owned grocery stores. I've worked in agriculture. I've worked in retail. I know what it takes to successfully run grocery stores. And I can tell you, if you see how your government runs the facilities they already run, what do you think is going to happen to the products that you normally go get at the grocery store? They're not going to be there, or if they are, they're going to be subpar.
I shorten it for you. How the hell do you think we're doing at the DMV? I think shitty. That's pretty much how it's going to be everywhere else. So if you like the DMV, sign up for a government-run grocery store. If you hate the DMV like me, and look, I'm sure there's some good people that work at the DMV. It's just a clusterfuck, okay? Yeah. And I don't want everything else to look like the DMV. It's just that simple. But I think what gets missed here is, let me tell you a little bit, and Trey Radel told me this the other day we were on the air. Apparently, there was an interview where Mandomi, okay, this is the whole point of socialism and communism. Mandomi goes, well, if I don't make it, my parents will just take care of me. Hold on. What silver spoon were you born with? Because the rest of America, very few actually have that ability. And not only that, what's even crazier is his father, okay, is a nutso professor at Columbia University, which used to be a great school, by the way. And he didn't get into Columbia. So this guy is an entire snake oil salesman selling a fairy tale. Now, why are all these Democrats glumming onto him? Because I'll tell you something. The guy can spin a lie like nobody I've seen in quite some time.
Oh, I agree. Well,
he's probably going to win that primary. He's probably going to be the next mayor of New York, which is
I have no doubt that as asinine as it seems, that's probably what New York will choose.
Well, that's because Trump stopped talking about it. He's like, God, the more I talk about Mandomi the Commie, like New Yorkers are like, damn it, I'm behind it because I have Trump derangement syndrome. The thing, though, is Republicans are kind of laughing all the way to the bank because, look, they understand that, 70% of registered voters in New York are Democrats, New York City. So, but what Republicans want is they want Mandomi to win. So when everyone's freaking out in New York City, they'll be like, see, every other Democrat, see, they all showed up. They're all for this guy. What's crazy is the two people who haven't endorsed Mandomi yet, keyword yet, are Chuck Schumer, the Democrats' leader in the Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrats' leader in the House. And by the way, they're both from New York City.
Yeah. And that goes to my point. They're both pieces of shit. And it seems like everything that they.
Well, Andrew Cuomo. I mean, how bad is it when you're rooting for Andrew Cuomo? Think about that shit for a minute. It's like saying, well, do I want cancer or leukemia? I mean, that's pretty much where we're at.
And look, he's out glad handing and kissing babies right now more than he ever done since this Zoran.
Well, he thought he'd run over the Mandomi the Commie, and Mandomi the Commie beat his backside. What's crazy is poor Curtis Sliwa, okay, because the biggest problem besides affordability, which by the way is New Yorkers' own fault, okay, for a whole host of other reasons, but they it's like, remember Escape from New York, Snake Plissken? That's like what it looks like in Manhattan. I mean, my God, you got a guy that can actually fix the law enforcement, because the group he ran that was protecting everybody back in the 80s. I mean, he's the perfect guy to fix at least one of the problems that New York has, but it's going to go by the wayside.
Well, again, like I said, I'll tell you, I worked in New York when I was younger. I spent a lot of time up there. And quite frankly, if we was to get attacked, you could hit that place first. Just send the food somewhere else. The only thing in New York I care about is the food.
Well, you know what's even crazier about this story, right? So we're talking about Mandomi the Commie. We're talking about Cuomo, who's got a friggin' bridge named after him, okay? Can't even win his own primary, which is a little funny. We're talking about Curtis Sliwa, who's actually a good guy, but he ain't got a chance in hell, even though currently the polling says he's doing all right. But you've got Eric Adams, the current mayor of New York, who also happens to be black, is in last friggin' place.
Yeah, that was shocking me. And look, I mean, there ain't none of them I really like, but I thought out of the three, who would you choose? And I can't help but say Eric started leaning a little bit more logical here lately.
No, whoever says I'll work with ICE are the ones that especially in New York, people don't understand how much money gets thrown down the drain. I mean, they're living in hotel rooms. I mean, this is ridiculous, okay? Whoever says I'll work with ICE is who I'd vote for.
I agree. Well, I want to talk about Harry Enton, the host of CNN's Margins of Error, and he posted a Democrat reality check stating Dems were way behind their 2006 to 2018 pace. And let me play a little video. Let's talk about that.
Look, the bottom line is this. Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. What are we talking about here? All right, the Democrats versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot, the margins. Look at where we are now. Democrats are ahead, but by just 2 points. Look at where Democrats were already ahead by in 2017. They were behind by 7 points. How about 2005 on the generic congressional ballot? Ahead by 7 points, ahead by 7 points, and now they're only ahead by 2 points. Their lead is less than half of where it was in either 2017 or 2005 in July of those years, the year before the midterm election. Yes, Donald Trump may be unpopular, but Democrats have not come anywhere close to sealing the deal at this particular point.
Yeah, wave looks very different.
Yes.
All right, this is the generic ballot test. This is when you test people in the generic question. Of course, the House races aren't generic. There are 435 of them. What happens when you go race by race?
What happens when you go race by race? Well, it's the same idea. Okay, House seat ratings with a GOP president like back in 2005 and, of course, 2017. More net pickup seat chances. Well, last time around, look at that. Democrats were ahead by 33 seats. How about in 2005? Democrats were ahead by 7 seats. What's going on right now? It's actually Republicans. Actually, Republicans with more net pickup chances at plus 12, according to the Cook Political Report, when you add in the likelies, the leans, and the toss-up races. So it's not just on the generic ballot where Democrats are behind their 2017 and 2005 pace. It's actually when it comes seat by seat, you see that, at least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything like those wave elections back in 2006 or 2008.
So Ford, they had to air that on CNN of all media outlets.
Yeah, Harry Enton talks fast, and he's a very smart guy. I mean, he doesn't always translate to TV, but what he's telling you is really gold, okay? What he's saying is in 06 and in 18, that's when the Democrats took back the House. And the signs were indicating that they were indeed going to do it. And Democrats right now may think with the Republicans with their small lead in the House, will take it back too. I mean, that's what historical averages say would happen. Except the problem is, and this is what Harry's saying, is the only message is Trump sucks. And you're fighting and dying on every 80-20 issue. What do I mean by that? You're defending men and women's sports. You're you're saying that it's okay to basically attack ICE like terrorists. I mean, that's why they're losing so bad, because not only are they perceived as weak and woke, okay, they're not talking about kitchen table issues. They're just like, if Trump says X, we're going to say Y, and we're going to dig in and say our democracy's at stake. And everyone's like, you guys have cried wolf too many friggin' times when it comes to Trump, and we've had it. So this is a good sign. But I'm one of these people, having worked on and run a lot of these campaigns, I will tell you, I hope, I hope for the best, but I prepare for the worst. And if you told me plus 12, I wouldn't have believed you. But when I saw that, which is why, let me bring it full circle back, we can't get caught up in the Epstein BS.
Well, it'll be interesting.
Quicksand. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. People understand. So if Trump does one thing, they'll say, oh, one more. He knows how this game is played, and we saw this with the Russia hoax. I mean, at some point, he's like, I didn't pee on the prostitute. Hell, there wasn't even a prostitute. But that's the type of crap that if you give the Democrats and that crooked media a bone, that's what's going to happen. Because remember, I tell people, we could solve 80% of our problems, okay, in America if our media would take a long walk off of a short dock. If we had no media, I promise you about 80% of our problems would be solved.
Well, I think that a lot of them are destroying themselves, and as we go along, we'll have to see if who makes it and who don't. Ford, is about that time everybody locally waits for.
The man's trash.
The part was how they were saying, literally, a hurricane could take your home away, but the man's trash. I mean, that is unbelievable.
The man's trash.
Man's trash. I mean, well, that's the proper use of Sesame Street.
Ford, let's first start by sending congratulations to Fort Myers High School grad, Lee County native Zach Root, who was a first-round draft pick for the LA Dodgers. I'm going to play this clip, and we'll get into that.
The Los Angeles Dodgers select Zachary Root.
He is officially a Dodger. The Southpaw was taken in the first round of the 2025 MLB draft, 40th overall by the team he has loved his whole life.
Growing up watching them, I've always wanted to play on that team, and now I get the chance, and I mean, there's no better feeling.
He pitched at Fort Myers High School, then East Carolina, and just helped Arkansas reach the College World Series. And here's a fun twist. His Arkansas teammate, Charles Davalon, and former FGCU Eagle got drafted right after him. Same team, same round. Zach's heading to Arizona soon to get settled with the organization, but for now, he's still home, spending time with family, his dog Bacon, and his snake, Nagini.
Look forward, Zach and Charles both, them fellas, I hope they make us proud. They already have. I mean, Zach's, done a remarkable job so far, and it's great when we have hometown kids make it big for them.
Absolutely. And I tell you this over and over. I think in Southwest Florida, our high school football and our high school baseball are unbelievable. I mean, some of the best in the entire country. And what's funny about Zach is I was watching him all through the College World Series at Arkansas. I mean, he is a heck of a player. I mean, I hope that kid one day is starting for the Dodgers. I hope everyone who got drafted makes, their dreams, because let me tell you something, they're far closer to their dreams I'm ever going to be to mine. So I give them an A+. I mean, I played college football, and I couldn't imagine if you're being picked like that. That is just really cool. The only thing I'll tell Zach is don't take that snake to Dodger Town.
Well, good luck, Zach and Charles. We look forward to seeing you guys in the season, and best wishes from all of us. Ford, imagine, if you will, Ford, a 39 square mile Florida destination with over 158,000 square feet of accommodations, featuring all-inclusive amenities. This gated community has 24-hour security inside a glorious setting surrounded by varieties of wildlife. It is perfect for guests to reflect on life and ponder what the future holds. Vacancy is currently open, but will be filling up fast. The state of Florida welcomes you to Alligator, Alcatraz.
There are really disturbing, vile conditions, and this place needs to be shut the hell down.
But Republicans on the same tour say they saw nothing of the sort. You probably know that facility opened earlier this month, and it holds up to 3,000 beds for detained illegal aliens as they prepare to go back home.
Gator Gitmo. Some build walls. We nurture ecosystems of freedom.
And this is our state-of-the-art, 100% organic biological filtration system. It also doubles as our welcome committee.
Oh my God! Get it off me!
It's an immersive, authentic Everglades experience. We spare no expense providing that authenticity.
This very land was saved from a jet port in the 60s. It's a protected treasure.
And look at us now, turning yesterday's failures into today's freedom.
Gator!
I call it the American dream, with more teeth.
We're sending a message. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Only patriots with scales.
Gator Gitmo. Some build walls. We nurture ecosystems of freedom.
All right, Ford, let's talk about this.
You know that I am one of the biggest fans of this project, okay? Further, I hope it becomes a pilot project for other states. But I think what was left out of that was really the key reason why Alligator Alcatraz is such a needed thing. It has a 10,500-foot runway. See, what's going to happen is this is going to be a way station. So you're going to drop them off. An airplane's going to come down, pick them up, and then deport them. And that is the entirety. This is not meant to be a long-term detention center. And the Democrats don't know what to do because they've been putting their head in the sand. Now, it's terrible conditions. Do they understand that there's like Title VIII regulations about like how you have to house illegal aliens? Like they don't seem to understand that you can't just like build a sweat box like it's somehow Cool Hand Luke in a movie, okay? There's actual friggin' rules here, and that's what they're abiding by. They just don't like the fact because let's be honest, this is a pretty cool idea, and I wish I'd thought of it.
Yeah, you know, and the thing, I got to say,
if you get past the Gators, you either got the Miccosukee to deal with or the Seminoles.
Well, that was what I was going to bring up. And the Miccosukes and you know, Betty Osceola has come out and she has opposed this project, and I do understand that. I respect Miss Osceola, and I do respect all of the tribal members. That, you know, I mean. The one thing that I would say to Betty, and I would say to everybody else, if this was doing something to destroy our environment in the Everglades, I would be so opposed to it. But the fact is, the footprint was there with the jet port. All they're doing is putting a structure that is temporary. And this is the key thing. This is not a permanent existence. This is going to be temporary. Eventually, the numbers will be down. The deportations will be fewer. And once we get it to a place where we can, you know, kind of absorb some of this, that'll go away. I really don't see the issue with this. You know, was it one of those destinations for seeing stars? Well,
Trust. Look, here's the problem. Think of this like a way station. To your point, that's really what this is. The problem is if Trump said tomorrow I'm going to save the Everglades, okay, the Democrats and their allies would say we should burn the Everglades to the ground. Okay, so this really has nothing to do with it. They're just looking at every single legal angle to stop it so they can say we defeated the bad orange man. And in all reality, you got other governors going, shit, this is a great idea. Why haven't we thought of this? And I promise you in Texas and in South Carolina, they got to be hatching something up right there. And Lord knows if you ever get a Republican governor in Arizona, let me tell you, I'll give you the gateway to the West right out of this country.
Right. Well, and like I said, you know, I know that a lot of people are opposed to it. I just, for now, we need this. The country needs this. I mean, we need to do what's right for the country. And, you know, look, I'll fight. I'll stand on the front lines with you about any environmental issue when I think the government's overreaching. But this, I cannot oppose this for it.
I'm with you. And you know, I'm a big Everglades backer too. I mean, I'm, you know, crazy about that and keeping our water clean. Two things out there. But at the same time, the footprint's there. And this is a model. And if this works, See, the key to this whole thing wasn't really just the alligators, even that was nice, because those of us who've worked in prosecutors' offices know about Angola Prison in Louisiana, which basically looks exactly like this. Let's just be honest about what's going on here, where you ain't getting anywhere in the swamp out there. If you actually get past it, there's a reason why there's like very little fence in Angola Prison outside the maximum security unit. But the point, though, was the runway. See, the runway was the whole key here, because at this point, if they do break out, where are they going? And that's kind of the point. They're going nowhere, and that's the whole point. In, out, in, out. I've always told you there's 3 Ds that are the key to border sovereignty and making sure that illegal aliens don't flood your country. And that is the 3 Ds. Deter people from coming here, which means don't give them free health care, okay? Detain them once they're here, and deport them in a timely manner. If you do deter, detain, deport, I promise you, which Trump has pointed out with no new laws, I can drop this by 90%. And that's what we're saying.
Well, and you brought up the fact about that looked a lot like the prison in Angola. I worked with the Kairos ministry. I've been in prison. I've looked at many prisons. I've looked around. That accommodations there seem far better than some of the prisons I've seen. They got air conditioning. I have seen a lot of prisons don't even know they've seen air conditioning. Lucky to have a sweat fan.
Yeah, I've been to Parchment, Mississippi. Trust me, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, they got a maximum security unit where it's something like, because the ACLU suit, I'm just off the top of my head, something like if it's 90 degrees for 3 days in a row, then you get to take a shower. And let me tell you, when the ACLU went to defend the ones on death row, they didn't realize that not everyone in that maximum security unit was on death row. So the death row guys got better benefits than, how shall I say, the people that were in there for life. Let's just put it this way. There was some shanking going on in the middle of the night.
Oh, I'm sure. And and the Democrats, they went toward that facility. And what did that lady say? She said, oh, my God. She said they have to brush their teeth in the same area where they defecate. Now, who in their world is so privileged that they don't shit in the same room they brush their damn teeth? Is your sink somewhere else in your house? You go into the kitchen? I don't understand that. I thought everybody in the world used the same restroom for both of those procedures.
You're using logic, and it's also not supposed to be a Ritz-Carlton, okay? The only time you shouldn't be shitting is where you eat. Beyond that, I'm right there with you. I mean, Lord knows, a bathroom sink. I mean, I probably spend more time there than I do in the bed. I mean, that'd be great in prison. Hope that doesn't happen, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hope it don't happen either. Well, Ford, I want to talk about Immokalee, Florida. Retail business owners have seen a sharp decline in customers, accrediting it to the presence of ICE in the community, leaving people in fear of being out in public. That being said, I have talked to a few friends of mine who they are Caucasian, but have family that are Hispanic or Latino. And one of them said to me the other day, and this is the thing that just baffled me. He knows that one of the girls is having a party like a quinceañera. And he said, I'm so afraid to go. And that's why. He said, because I don't know if it's going to get raided. You know, those are the things that people are thinking. And, you know, when you see some of that, it goes, I'm sorry. I understand that it's hard on people to see this, but the truth is there's a right way to do it, and they didn't do it that way, and I'm sorry for them. I mean, you know, Ford, you know, I could see just like somebody robbing a store and say, well, I only stole because I was hungry. Well, you didn't walk down to the food kitchen or something like that. You just automatically stole. You just don't walk over the border. You asked to come in.
That's the whole point. You've got to do it legally in the right way. And people don't realize how generous America is. Without even talking about the H-2A, H-2B visas, etc., we have 1 million people we let in each year legally. And, you know, that's what I think a lot of people forget is that it's a crime to come here illegally. 8 U.S.C. 1325 and 1326. The Democrats keep going, well, my favorite is, and this is really terrible. The Democrats are like, oh, we're all, let me tell you about a lying talking point here. The Democrats are like, we're all for deporting criminals. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about what a criminal is, because if you take your talking point there, that means you want to deport all illegals.
Right.
But then they start saying, well, crossing the border isn't a crime. Okay, let's just say for 30 seconds we give them a break on that one, which is nonsense, because if you start enforcing one law and not the other, then you're going to say the rules don't matter. But they start going, well, they've only been charged with rape, and therefore they shouldn't be deported. I'm like pulling my hair out, because I'm going, you shouldn't be here in the first place, and you certainly shouldn't be charged with rape. And they're like, well, they need due process. I'm like, no, they don't. They need to be gotten the hell out. And that's the whole problem here. Is the Democrats are back to manipulating language, and they're not undocumented. They're illegal aliens. That is the truth. They didn't lose their documents. That's my all-time favorite. And as you know, at the border, both been down there. People destroy their documents all the time so they can't be vetted. And that's the whole point. The Biden people, like, you talk about a betrayal. They told you, oh, they're vetted. You can't vet someone from Venezuela. They don't share data with us. You can't vet someone from China. I mean, we're just lucky we haven't had 9/11 again.
I agree. The one thing I think that the tax-paying citizens will understand, if this person's charged with rape or a heinous crime and you give him due process, who's paying for the due process?
That's the whole bingo. That is the whole point. But not only that, they're not United States citizens or even naturalized aliens.
But
we have an entire code.
Due process.
Exactly. Title 8 provides what the due process is for illegal aliens. And this whole nonsense, they're just creating a talking point to somehow turn you against the very laws that they passed in Congress. Now, isn't that the basis of our constitutional republic? If Congress passes a law, then we should probably enforce said law. Should we not? Because if you don't like the law, then remove the law.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I said, it's just, the different thought patterns on this blows me away. Unless you're just not working and you're just on government assistance and you ain't got to pay for nothing, then maybe it don't bother you. But when you pay taxes every year and you know that part of your money that you hard-earned money you work for is going to pay for somebody that committed a crime in the first place by not doing it the proper way coming over, and you're paying for it. And you've been paying for it. You're paying for the Medicare. You're paying for all these things. And you wonder why the country, we have so many poverty-stricken cities in America, because we're paying for the rest of the damn world to live a little better.
Correct. And there's also something even just as sinister. You're absolutely right. You're taking away from the social safety net that is supposed to go to American citizens and naturalized aliens. But there's something even worse going on here. And I was talking about this the other day on Newsmax. And that is that Democrats are for open borders. They don't tell their own people this, okay? Is because illegal aliens vote for president. I told you this via the census. Every time we have redistricting, illegal aliens count the same as United States citizens for the purpose of apportionment. And, you've got some districts now where if everyone was registered to vote in California, something like less than half could actually vote. And we're not even talking about the felons here, okay? So that's absolutely insane. But remember, federal funding is also tied to it. The reason why they want to give illegal aliens health care, because you give them health care, why the hell would they go home? But if you give them health care, then the federal government each year has to give you more money. This is an entire shell game. And then what they really want to do is they want to flood with so many illegals, to your point, that you've overrun health care, the government assistance, social safety net. So the Democrats can say the answer to our problem is more government. And that's how you actually have socialism and communism, is because they're using illegal aliens as Trojan horses to break the system.
I agree. Well, Ford, I need time running short. I want to get a couple more stories in here. I want to talk about Lee County, Florida. Island Park residents fear leaving their homes after airsoft snipers take aim at their buttocks. One resident stated she was gardening while her husband mowed the lawn when she felt a sharp pain in her gluteus maximus. First dismissing it as a rock flung by the mower, she later found that a sniper had her in her crosshairs. Ford, this story is a couple of kids, and they got, I think they're gel guns or whatever. They shoot them
like the paintball guns.
And I know, look, when we were kids, Ford, we probably would have done something like this. They're doing this probably for social media. It's probably a TikTok video. And you just imagine they see a big hiney. I mean, and you ain't got to be a great shot. They're giving you a big target, bam. And I mean, they're shooting these poor people in the butt. It is nowadays is not acceptable, but I mean, you know, I don't know. Ford is
I'll
hard.
never forget as long as I live. The greatest thing I ever bought myself. I mean, I must have saved up for God knows how long, probably 10, 11, 12, something like that. I rode my bike all the way to the sporting goods store so I could buy a pellet gun. And I mean, I must have killed every damn squirrel. I feel bad about it, actually. Like, I mean, I hunt, but I mean, I literally was hunting everything. Hell, I was hunting the neighbors' lights in their yard. I mean, it didn't matter. Unfortunately, you can't be doing this crap. And the problem is kids do this, and you got to make an example. I mean, you know, I'm as pro-Second Amendment as they come, but these kids can't be doing this shit, basically.
And not in today's time. I mean, look, and I mean, especially these people were elderly, and you know,
exactly. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean,
but the story in itself is amusing that there's a buttock sniper out there roaming. But you know, them kids. I understand that I do believe the children were arrested, and I think one of them even tried to fight with the cop.
That is insane.
Yeah, one of them and this is my understanding now, there was 2 arrested down in Whiskey Creek, and I think one of them might have been, I might be wrong, but that's what I'm told. One of them was part of it. They did find some brass knuckles and a couple other things. These kids were a little rowdier, and I mean, but Ford, I got to go back. I mean, I grew up I was over in Cape Coral. I rode around with a shotgun in my back windshield. You know what I mean? I mean, we had brass knuckles, we had K-bars. I mean, we were boys. We were young boys going into men, but we were never harmed an elderly person. I mean, that just wasn't no.
That's the point. I mean, today's youth, you can't give them the toys that we had because we respected them too. You know, that's the whole thing. That's why you want to have kids around guns early so they respect the weapon. It's the same principle here. You know, you get hit once or twice with brass knuckles or somebody hit you with a bat. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Not again. And the problem is these kids, they don't know. They think nothing has consequences. And that's the problem. I mean, hell, think about the toys we used to play with. I mean, they'd be banned today with all the rules. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't kill ourselves on top of it.
I remember my cousins having these ovens that heated up and baked little cakes and stuff. Could you imagine kids nowadays?
Betty Crocker, little oven. I remember that.
We got to tell kids nowadays they can't eat Tide Pods.
Yeah, they'd be like, Lord knows if they saw the Atari 2600, they'd think it was from like the 40s. Don't even get me started. I'm with you. I mean, the worst part is they don't go outside really anymore unless they come from a family that like works a farm or, you know. What's crazy is, think about, to this day, I'm like amazed that I'm alive given the number of water moccasins and rattlesnakes I screwed around with. Like just dumb as a stump.
I'm with you. Well, Ford, I want to talk about another story here that's a little more serious. My staff receives many requests from employees, past employees, parents, retired administrators, etc., to help them get information, and we do that by requesting public record forms. We had written 3 requests for records, and we couldn't get them. They told them didn't exist. We had to get creative to obtain these records because we were being outright lied to about the existence of these records. The main point here is not just receiving the information, but the public entity that is funded with public funds is violating Florida statutes on public records. Most people would have never made that second or third attempt for those public records for it. And, you know, and I told you off the air, I had to go about it and have other people write it. And whether this is true, I have been stated to by somebody within the district that said that, told one of our staff that they were told that any public records that come from anybody on our staff was to be denied. Now, Ford, if I can prove that, we're going to have an issue. And then I'm not saying it's just the school district doing this, because I was watching the county commissioners meeting the city council meeting in Cape Coral, and they were having the same problems. And one of one of the people asked, "Because you just tell us how you want us to write it so we can get it. Why are we not receiving these records?" The government needs to be transparent. We are in the age of transparency, Ford.
I know, and look, if that's really happening, I hope you can prove it. It's just very, very hard to prove. And I'd love to say that, hey, this is unique to our school district or, whatever it may be. You should see what Tom Fenton and those guys go through for federal freedom of information requests. And it doesn't matter which of them, they'll try to block you every way to Sunday. And I mean, it's just, it's terrible because it defeats the whole point of freedom of information.
Well, I know that it's said over and over, and it sounds so just horrible when you say it. They work for us. They don't accept that, but they work for us. And we are begging them to do the job that we put them in the position and paid them for. And yet they treat us like we're just absolute nothing.
You're peons. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm God. You're not. Slink away. Quit. I know better than you.
Well, to wrap this up on that note, there is going to be some elections coming up. And I'm going to go out here and tell you that I know that Armor Persons has signed up for re-election. I hope that we can find anybody but Armor. This is a chance for anybody that wants to get out and try to do something good for the school district. We need somebody, and I don't care what political affiliation you are at this point, as long as you're going to do what's right for the children and not try to indoctrinate them with something just ignorant that we don't know.
I think you need to put on a bumper sticker, ABA. Anyone but Armor.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great thing. I promise you, he'll send you some weird text message and talk smack about you. But hey, might be worth it just for the bumper sticker.
Well, and also I know that also in the school district, I have been told that India Palencia is going to challenge Jada Langford Ford. And I'm going to say this, out of all that district, and I was not pro Jada, I did not vote for Jada. Jada has not been as detrimental as the other members. However, she has went along to get along, and I don't appreciate that. And I watched a video that this India Palencia made, and I believe she's a Democrat. But however, her focus is on what's doing right for the children, and especially the children with special needs. For
and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the county-wide race?
Yes. Yes.
That have a lot of money
at large. And like I
said, that's the thing, is that's the hardest one.
Yeah. And here's again, these people like Armor made a statement that he wasn't going to be using Terry Miller to run his campaign.
Wait, Armor made a statement?
Well, he had put it out there. But, my staff has looked into it, and it seems to be that, no, he's not using Terry Miller. He's using one of a person that very close to Terry that worked for Terry Miller in Tallahassee, who is still basically using Terry Miller. So with that, Ford, we're going to have to wrap it up. I'm Smokin' Joe with Ford O'Connell. We love you, Florida. Until next time, love, peace, and gator grease.